Aneke TV, or you can visit us on our socials like Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, or YouTube, all at Aneke TV.
This is Aneke TV. We move with the world.
You're still watching Sunrise on Aneke TV. Now, let's take a look at the weather reports across major cities in the southeast.
Yes, and we'll begin with Oka. Oka expects a heavy thunderstorm with a high temperature of about 30 degrees Celsius, and the chance of rain is high, around 75%. The evening will be cloudy with a low temperature of about 23 degrees Celsius, and the chance of rain remains high at 75%. In summary, prepare for a wet and stormy day.
And today in Enugu, look forward to mostly cloudy skies with rain showers and thunderstorms developing, especially in the afternoon. The high temperature is expected to be around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius.
Yes, and in Abakaliki, expect a mix of sun and clouds in the morning with isolated showers and spots. This will be followed by a risk of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high temperature is expected to reach around 31 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius. Evening will be cloudy with a chance of thunderstorm. The low temperature will settle around 22 degrees Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius.
And over to Owerri. Anticipate light rain or occasional rain with isolated thunderstorms. By evening, we'll experience cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm followed by rain. Temperatures for today would hover around 30 degrees Celsius and a low of 23 degrees Celsius.
Yes, and finally in Umuahia, the city will witness scattered thunderstorms during the day, becoming cloudy at night. The high temperature is forecast to be around 31 degrees Celsius and the low will be about 23 degrees Celsius. There is a high chance of rain and thunderstorms throughout the day and night.
So, wherever you are in the southeast today, stay safe, dress light, and keep your umbrella handy. Rain or shine, we've got you covered. This is the weather reports on Sunrise on Aneke TV. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
You're still watching Sunrise on Aneke TV. Now let's see what's happening on front page headlines today on The Nation, Punch, Daily Trust and The Guardian newspaper. Now on The Nation headline, we have We have certificate scandal, Naji resigns ministerial position. And on the Punch headline, we have Tinubu to pick new INEC chair this week. And in the Daily Trust, we have Amu Pitan may emerge INEC chair. And on the Guardian headlines, we have anxiety lingers over insecurity, fate of displaced person. Now we'll be taking today's newspaper coming from The Nation that says, certificate scandal, Naji resigns ministerial position. Uche Geoffrey Uchechukwu Naji, who served as the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, has resigned following revelations that he submitted forged academic and NYSC National Youth Service Corps certificates. And the resignation came after an investigative report by Premium Times exposed evidence that the minister did not actually obtain the credentials he claimed. Mr. Ocha, I would like to know your take on this issue.
Debbie, it's quite unfortunate that in this era and time in the life of Nigeria that we are still experiencing the issue of forgery by our leaders, those who intend to serve. You know, one would expect that whoever has chosen to toe the path of service at the national level or even at state level or even the local level should be able to be sincere enough to say, I am, and that's who you are.
Yeah.
The leaders who have in Nigeria haven't gotten to a point where when they greet you good morning, you would not have to check your time again.
Okay.
In fact, remember that just last month or thereabouts, the former President Goodluck Jonathan had come out publicly to say us that politicians or the leaders who have in Nigeria are not trustworthy. They are not people you can give your life to keep. And when you return, you expect to have it back.
Yeah.
You understand? And if an experienced leader like former President Goodluck Jonathan would describe the present crop of leaders, when I say the present crop of leaders, I don't mean this very administration, but I talk about the leaders that we've had cumulatively from, let's say, 1999, when we returned to democracy, to this day. So, while I look at that headline, I begin to ask a lot of questions. Why Uche Naji? Why can't he take a stand to tell the nation what it is categorically? Is this another line of politics? These are the questions that one may ask. But when looked at critically, this is not the first time that this news is breaking. A newspaper had reported this issue about 1 year ago, and nothing came of it. And then, surprisingly, all of a sudden, this came to be at the front burner. And every major news headline, every major newspaper, news house is talking about this scandal. And I begin to ask, when will our leaders be so kind to this nation that when you want to present yourself for leadership, be sincere enough to let us know that what you have, like in the case of a former president who was said to have failed so many papers during WAEC.
Yeah.
Yet, he led this country not just for 8 years. Remember that he had led previously as a soldier. But he piloted the affairs of this nation for 8 years. And nothing happened. So one should expect that the crop of leaders that we have should be magnanimous enough to say, okay, I stopped at school SAT. I'm not trying to embellish the record.
Okay.
However, before I begin to look into this in detail, I want to raise one very good question. I'm not trying to take sides here. Let's speak from the perspective of a Nigeria and a Nigerian. Let's be fair to ourselves as citizens. Let's be fair to ourselves as Nigerians, as a nation, that we should be known to be sincere people, not trying in every time to wear that toga of insincerity, of corrupt people that the world wants to tag us with. This is demarcating, as far as I'm concerned, for Nigeria. And this shouldn't be what we should be talking about. However, let me raise the issues before going into taking any other position on this.
Yeah.
Uche Naji was a governorship candidate in 2023 election for the position of governor of Enugu State, right? Good. This gentleman was screened by a political party to contest for that position. He scaled through. What was that screening all about? This same individual I suppose that the state security screened him before he was able and cleared him to contest for that position.
Yeah.
He got a security clearance to say that, okay, this man is not a security threat to the nation and to the state of Enugu State, right?
Yeah.
That this same individual, they will have to check the credentials that he has presented to be able to contest for that very position. And he was cleared. We didn't hear any scandal. He contested for that position. I bet the fact that he lost, had it been that he won, then the scandal today would be that we'll have a sitting governor with forged certificate. Given that governors are known to be under immunity, would we have seen a resignation like this today? I am calling out our state security. Or is it a case they have a question to answer? Is it a state of an oversight function to have cleared him at that level? Now, when we move further, this same gentleman has been appointed to the exalted position of a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Was he not cleared? Then this is where I look at the presidency in the face and ask questions. What sort of clearance did you carry out to allow him get to this position with this controversial? I use the word controversial selectively because the Uchennaji and his team are still claiming that they are targeted, they've been targeted for blackmail. That he has this very certificate and that the certificates are not forged and that he obtained the very qualification from the University of Nigeria and Soka. So I say controversial certificate. Why would the presidency be of the service to this nation to let him get to that very position? And again, the state security are equally culpable in this for either not doing enough or doing an isolated job or closing their eyes to let him scare through. Because I know for certain that he would have to undergo security clearance to be allowed to get to that position. That's on the side. The state, the executive government, the presidency, the Department of State Security Service, and again, you look at the National Assembly. Unfortunately, we are celebrating mediocrity in our National Assembly. It has become a situation where when we get to the National Assembly, instead of paying allegiance to the Constitution, to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we are singing songs to extol the qualities of individuals, rather than doing the needful by investigating prospective ministerial nominees. What we hear is bow and go. If the presidency didn't see it and the DSS overlooked it or were not thorough enough to dictate that this man has a controversial certificate. I'm using the word controversial because I know that this issue is equally in court as well. So, the National Assembly that is populated by eminent and qualified Nigerians could not probe enough to be able to say that this man had questionable credentials. What are they doing there? What are they being paid for? What are they using the national resources, the toil and till from the resources of the suffering citizens of this nation to sit there and be doing? The presidency has failed. The State Security Department has failed. Our National Assembly equally has failed. And as far as I'm concerned, all of them are culpable in all this. Today is Uchennaji, who we are speaking about, not being fair enough or not being bold enough to come to the media and tell Nigerians that, look, I am sorry that my credentials are not what they are said to be. And if he has this qualified or has these credentials and is authentic, like he is wanting us to believe from the record that is being set or released by his aides, that he gained admission in UNN. Then one thing is to gain admission, another thing is, did you graduate? The emphasis now shouldn't be that you gained admission. The emphasis should be that you graduated. And when you said to have graduated, did the university found you worthy in learning and character to give you their prima facie stamp of nihil obstat to go ahead as an ambassador of that institution? These are what we expect him as a gentleman to categorically not run to the court, but to tell us categorically, be magnanimous enough to tell us, I have erred I made a mistake. Now it's time to step aside. Rather than taking us through the tortuous part of argument and counter argument, where we'll have to wait and determine that this is what it is. Because I listened to his aide coming out publicly to tell us that indeed that he graduated from the Department of Microbiology and Chemistry, where he obtained second class lower division from the department, and that his name is or was is because it's a document that's still in existence, that was in the brochure of convocation brochure for the year 1985. He equally cited his registration number of that year of 1981/30/72/38 thereabouts, and that name was in that brochure as being a convocant and a worthy graduate of the institution. And if you dig further, you will see that a certain individual, whose name I can't recall presently, is it one Mrs. Onyado or somebody, representing the registrar of UNN, at one point in order came out to say, speaking on behalf of the registrar, that this gentleman graduated and obtained this certificate from the university. Now the question is, what has changed between that period and now? Yeah. So has that individual, speaking for the registrar of the university, lied to Nigerians? And if indeed she did, then their more heads should roll. It shouldn't be just Uchennaji resigning. Then those people should come out to give account to why they misled this nation. Again, the university this time around have come up in 2025 to distance themselves from that certificate, right? Though this issue is pending in court. My take on all this is that Nigerians should be fair, to be fair-minded to this nation, to Nigeria and Nigerians, that if what you have is NEPA bill, if what you have is water bill, be courageous and bold enough when leadership is beckoning to tell Nigerians that I only stopped at kindergarten. In fairness to the Nigerian constitution, what level of education does it require for one to be a governor in Nigeria? That then one should be, we should see scandals upon scandals of individuals, you know, distorting our views with forged credentials. I believe, and I would want to believe, that at the end of the day, let this be just politics, and not be that a career is being ruined for the sake of it. Because according to him, in his resignation letter or conversation, according to Bayo Nonga, he has come out public to say that he has been a product of a targeted attack of sustained blackmail and political persecution by his political opponents. Who are these political opponents? Pointing accusing figures on the government of Enugu State, which I know that the government of Enugu State has come out publicly to declare that they has no hand in it, that they have no dog in the fight. Okay. But the point I want to draw now is that over time, we've seen individuals resign from government as a result of fake certificates. What are we doing to them? Have we seen any of them being persecuted? Before Uchennaji, we saw a Edu that equally resigned because of questionable credentials as well. Where is Edu today? She is working free. Nothing has happened. Beyond Edu and Uchennaji today, there was the incident of Kemi Adoshin in 2018, equally for forged NYC discharge certificate. What happened? In the middle of the night, she cruised and left the country so that she won't be prosecuted. And she is living free as well. Prior to this moment, this is not the first time this is happening. There has been the issue of the Toronto saga, the Toronto certificate. If you remember the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, Salisu Buhari, he was a speaker. Okay. And he had a forged certificate from Toronto University. So why are we so conscious about certificates? Why not about the quality? Why not about integrity? Being fair and sincere enough to say that, okay, I stopped at school SAT. I never had the privilege of attending a higher institution. Rather than this mess that we are finding us in. I equally remember the case of equally in that dispensation in 1999 of the name confusion and forgery of the then Senate President Evan Enwerem and Evans. This was a high saga that year. We didn't know if he should be addressed as Evan or he should be addressed as Evans. At the end of the day, he was eventually removed as the Senate President. So, this nation, these leaders, our political class should spare us this torture, this branding. You know, yes, they were talking about the brand Nigeria. This is a bad brand on a bad image on the brand Nigeria. They should consider the image of Nigeria whenever they do things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now I'll be moving over to our next paper from the Punch headline that says Tinubu to pick new INEC chair this week. And you know, there's a lot of speculation that President Tinubu will soon name a substantive INEC chair. As regards to the current INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who has officially stepped down or is about to on the
gone,
process
yes.
of leaving. Okay, he has stepped down.
Yes.
So I would like to know your take on this issue.
Maybe if Nigeria were a country where things work, where we don't have strong men
Okay.
and weak institution,
Yeah.
if Nigeria had strong institution, strong guideline, obedience to rule of law, this shouldn't make a headline in the Nigeria of today. You would see it at the bottom rung of the newspaper rather than the major headline. It's because we celebrate strong men rather than strong institution. That's why this is making headlines. If Nigeria is what the utopian, what it ought to be, it shouldn't be what we should be talking about. By the time an INEC chairman is leaving his position, we already know the substantive replacement without looking at the president for an appointment of another individual.
Yeah.
No, but we'll celebrate strong men.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate strong leaders rather than strong institutions. We've not done anything to increase or encourage ourselves, our nation, to evolve and have strong institution. INEC is a very important institution in sustaining the nation, Nigeria, and sustaining democracy in the nation, Nigeria. Why is it that at this time that the appointment of a substantive INEC chairman is always a headline in Nigeria and always cause for debate between those who feel that it's worthy and right for the president to be the one to appoint the leader or the chairman of INEC? There has been arguments for and against. A lot of persons have said that it's not right for the president to be the one who himself participates. And in this case, we'll be in an election in less than 2 years, in 2027, right?
Yeah.
He will be participating in an election, and he is the one to appoint an INEC chairman. So from this has raised numerous arguments, either in favor or against. And over time, in as much as we argue about these things, what have we done to see that electoral reform should be at the front burner, that this should be part of the things that we look into and set straight, so I will have a strong institution and not strong men?
Okay.
What is our National Assembly doing each time that reform bills, electoral reform bills come before them? Do they look at this aspect, or do they look at it from the angle of how will it favor their position? Politicians, again, will be granted that they will do everything that will favor them to keep winning. But no politicians who wants to lose. Now, looking at this trend, over the years, it's been the prerogative of the president, as enshrined in our constitution, to appoint INEC chairman. When you look at our constitution, section 153 and 154 of the constitution, it gives the president the prerogative to appoint whoever he has seen and deemed fit for that position, subject to the confirmation by the Nigerian Senate. So that headline shouldn't be a news, because that's our constitution as of today. The president has to appoint whoever would head that institution. And as we know, Mahmoud Yakub has served out his tenure. You know, he has done 2 tenures of 5 years each. He was first appointed to that position as at 1st November in 2015.
Okay.
That's when he first assumed that position as chairman of INEC, and then was again reappointed in 2020. So, given by that calculation of 5 years, he was supposed to have left by June of this year, but was told by the president to continue then until this time, where we've seen that he has submitted his letters and that he's now finally going. Okay. And then what is worthy of mentioning that in line he has handed over to a substantive head pending when the president appoints a new chairman for the body. He appointed to one a lawyer, a senior lawyer. Is it a Mrs. May? I don't know if he's a Mrs. or Miss May Abamuchembo. You understand? Is now the one in charge, whom Yakub Muhammadu has handed over. So we'll look unto the president to do the needful as enshrined in our constitution. As of today, we've not changed it. That's what's obtainable. And he's not the first president to be appointing INEC chairman. Even the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, appointed Professor Tahiru Jega that superseded, presided over the election that exited him from office. Right? So, it's not the first appointment. You tracing back, even former President Olusegun Obasanjo appointed Maurice Iwu and all that. So, it's been a trend, it's been a tradition. And until we look at this section 153 and 154 and then amend it, you understand, either through by amendment of the Constitution by the National Assembly or through the electoral bill reforms, see to it that institutions, you understand, will be the one that see who becomes the next INEC chairman, right? So we were told that by Thursday, I think the president will be coming out with an appointment after the National Council of States meeting. You know, National Council of State meeting is a meeting where you see the former heads of state, where they come together to deliberate on issues that impact and affect our nation. And it's expected that at that meeting that President Tinubu would tender his nominee for that position. You understand? At the National Council of State. One thing I know is that the National Council of State is an advisory body. At the end of the day, they could advise the president and he will go ahead with his choice. Yeah. So it's still the prerogative of the president. And then we should celebrate the era of this outgoing chairman who, under his tenure, we saw a little introductions and reforms in INEC. Yes, a lot of persons would want to critique and criticize him for a lot of things, especially given the circumstances of the announcement of the 2023 election. A lot of people accuse him of other hands and many things. But as far as we are concerned, these things are not yet proved, and they weren't proved in court. There are still allegations on his person. But one thing I would remember him for is the introduction of BVAS, the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System that he introduced. And again, I would celebrate him for the continuous voter registration exercise that he has introduced, that we don't have to wait close to the election where everybody will begin to rush. There's a continuous voter registration exercise. So these are, for me, the things that we'll remember him for. He has served the nation. The president has praised him and has given him national honors and has bidded him farewell. But the point that I have made here is that rather than having to see that whoever presides over INEC as an important institution in this nation is appointed by the president, we should strengthen our constitution, have a strong institution where we see that credible, worthy persons emerge and evolve into that position. If INEC is truly independent, they should handle their affair. By the time Yakub is leaving, a substantive chairman should be emerging from within. Okay. Yes, but give or take, there's no one road to all this. But it all behoves on our leaders, the National Assembly, and all of us to champion electoral reform. That way, even if the National Assembly doesn't want to look into it, we as citizens can force them to look into it and see that there are amendments so that it will no longer just the president appointing, but there should be other credible means of having to see who succeeds an outgoing INEC chairman, given that the president himself is still a politician and is seeking for elective office in future.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, still on the INEC and the chair, if we take a look at the Daily Trust paper that says Amupitan may emerge INEC chair. And now this is tied to the previous headline from Punch headline, and it reports suggests that Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan is leading the list of candidates being considered for the substantive INEC chair position. And now, in as much as you were talking about Yakubu bringing someone that is, should I say, that is right for the position or something. There was this statement.
It shouldn't be him. The system itself should be able to
No,
trust up somebody. You understand? By the time he's leaving, there is somebody who is qualified from within INEC to take over. This is my own view. Right? So many other persons have their view about this issue. Some have posited over time that the National Judicial Council should be the one, subject to the ratification of National Assembly, appoint. There are many propositions, but if we are a serious nation, we should champion electoral reform, then through electoral reform, see that it is institutionalized. Either INEC becomes an independent body that is ought to be, that within its rank and files, there is somebody who is worthy in character to take over from an exiting chairman, or that will have a system that would independently be void of political interest to see that a worthy person is appointed to that position. That's what I was saying.
No, I get what you say, but now Amupitan being the front runner of the election, like from the candidates, which we have different candidates like Justice Abdullahi, we have Mohammed Liman, and then Professor Lai Olerede. These are people that are coming out for the...
Yes, these are people. I would say that headline is speculation. Let me not use the word rumor. You understand? But as far as I'm concerned, this is still a rumor, right? Nobody has, at this point in time, for me, is rumor. And those people being frontline candidates, we don't know. We don't know who the president is considering. As far as we are concerned, president could be considering Mr. Oluchukwu, you understand, for that very position, and nobody knows. But one thing here is that is his prerogative to consider whoever he deems fit. And if the president finds Mr. Oluchukwu worthy to occupy that position, is his prerogative. But speaking about Amupitan being a front choice of the president for this position, I have quietly dismissed this as rumor until that proclamation is made by the president, right? So I don't know. I know that Daily Trust are reliable. They have their sources and as well. But it still remains a rumor until is confirmed, is announced by the president and confirmed by the National Assembly. Until then, you will have your candidate for that very position or the individual. Amupitan, you understand, I'm not dismissing the fact that he is a worthy Nigerian. We've been told that he's a senior advocate of Nigeria, a professor of law, specializing in the law of evidence, right? He has equally held many positions over time, both academic and administrative positions. And there may be no doubt saying that he is eminently qualified to be the chairman of INEC, being that even reports from the university where he's coming from, Unijust, people say that he's approachable and he's a forthright person and is qualified to occupy the position. Professor Amupitan is from Ayetorobede in Kogi State. It's an Ijumu local government area of Kogi State. And for me, like I did mention, I don't want to begin to celebrate any individual or begin to speculate or talk about any individual until the presidency confirms an appointment of that individual, and then we'll begin to scrutinize if this is a right person. But I must tell you, Debbie, you and I have no dog in this fight, while we have everything in it. You know, why do I say that we have no dog in it while we have everything in it? Whatever happens here would affect all of us. If the president chooses to appoint a crook, at the end of the day, it will affect all of us, because according to the constitution that I've mentioned, the president is his right to appoint. So why I'm saying that we don't have any dog in this fight is that at this point, whenever the president appoints, there's nothing much we can do. Hence, the National Assembly confirms that individual. That is the law, right? We can protest and do everything, but that's the law. So, for us, the fight we have in it is that whatever happens will affect us. Our part in it is that we should be at the front burner as Nigerians, as citizens of this country, calling for electoral reform, for constitutional review, where is not a politician that would appoint who would head this important institution, INEC. But whoever, like I did say, if the president has found Mr. Oluchukwu worthy of being INEC chairman and he is confirmed by the National Assembly, tomorrow he is the INEC chairman, and there are no two ways about it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. Now we're moving over to the Guardian headline that says, anxiety lingers over insecurity, fate of displaced person. Now this headline focuses on the humanitarian crisis in Nigeria's north-central region, where violence, conflict, and communal clashes have driven many people from their homes. And we can see different north-central states like Benue State, Plateau State, and so others. In Benue State, entire villages have been emptied as herders attacks and reprisals